Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. If you can hear me and you've got your microphone on, say hello. Marjorie? Hello? You might need to unmute yourself. Hello?
Here we go.
There we go.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Is anybody else there?
I see a number. Well, Dave's there. Let me see. I just saw Dave step in, so got him. Dave, you can unmute yourself. And I see Justin. I'm
not seeing any video.
Okay, you can start. You can start your own video if you'd like.
I don't see any either. You know, there's no gallery view with all the other people.
Okay, hold on. Let's see. I don't see. I can see myself. Do you, at the bottom of your screen, do you have the ability to start your video?
Mm-mm.
No. There's nothing at the bottom except the option to mute, raise your hand, or leave the meeting.
Okay.
So unless, like when Dave's speaking, his name comes up at the top. And when I'm speaking, my name comes up that I'm talking, but.
Okay, hold on a minute. Well, we've got time here while we're waiting for others to join. Okay. Yeah, Justin just said, let's see if I can promote you guys in as panelists. Hold on. Okay, so there's Dave and there's Marjorie. So see if does that give you the ability to have more functionality at the bottom? Oh, there you go.
There we go. That looks more normal.
Okay, and Dave too. So Dave, you should, all right, cool. So I'll do that for all of the WAC members and anyone that's presenting. This is the methodology. This is the process that the city uses for council meetings. Alex is on vacation, so I'm a single pilot tonight, so you have to bear with me. So yeah, we're waiting for others to join. We have 3 panelists and 10 attendees. Let me see, who is that with their hand raised? Ted Crocker. Let me see what Mr. Ted is asking. Hello, Ted. Can you unmute yourself?
How's that?
Yeah, did you have a question?
No, I'm just waiting to get into our project on the self-storage.
I'm sorry, say again?
We're here for the self-storage.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll bring you on when Justin comes up.
Okay.
I'll be showing the agenda shortly, and you're at the end of my presentation.
Okay.
All right, so just stand by.
Okay,
So Marjorie and I know that Ori said he was going to make it, and I spoke to Joe. He said he would make it. I haven't spoken to Glenn or Scott, but we'll give it the good old college, professor 15 minutes. And if we don't have let's see. There's the motion to approve the bylaws
Mhm.
is the only thing that needs to be voted on. We can push that out. I can certainly, and I'll leave it up to you, Marjorie. It's effectively your meeting. We can reschedule, or Mr. Crocker and myself can give our presentations. The next scheduled meeting isn't until the end of October, but there's nothing that's in the bylaws that says that we can't move this out, a couple of weeks if you'd like.
Mhm. So we need 4 for a quorum. We have to vote on the minutes too, which isn't, that big of a deal, but I think that requires a vote.
Can we do this? Can the 3 of us see if we can reach out to other members? I will,
Sure, I'll try texting.
I'll try Scott,
I'll try Ori.
and Dave, if you could try Joe, and then I'll try Glenn. As a matter of fact, I'll just text Scott and Glenn together. As a matter of fact, I believe I touched base with Glenn. How have you two been doing?
Good. How about yourself?
It's a challenge every day, but we're hanging in there. Ted, you can lower your hand if you'd like.
Oh, okay.
All right, I think I can do it. I think I just did it.
Yeah. Okay.
Dave, did you have Joe's number? I think you're muted, Dave.
I was just connecting my other computer here so I can look it up.
I think I have it in my phone. Let me
Okay.
Joe.
There's scrapers and stuff there. Pick it up there. You can do it with that shovel or when the scooper again or then.
Hey, Joe, how you doing? Oh. Oh, are you S? Are you O? Do you see yourself up on the participants list? Oh, so do you end with 506? Let me see, is that you? Yeah, okay. Okay, I'll have them make you a panelist. Oh, there you are. Okay, bye, see ya. Well.
So
there's
now
We
we
got
have,
one more.
all right, so we got Joe. We just got to figure out how to
nothing back from
ask him
Ori.
to unmute himself. Let's see if I
You can't need him. Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can. Name remove. At least I can name him. Let's see.
Strawberry spices?
So we got Joe. Hold on, let me see if I can get some help here.
I did. I had to choose.
I'm trying to check and see if I can get some instructions for Joe to unmute himself via his dial pad. So just stand by. Still haven't heard from Glenn or Scott yet.
Yeah,
Oh, no,
I
there's
only,
Glenn. There's Glenn. Hold on.
All right.
okay.
All right. So, all right. So we're making
I'm mute, but I don't see my picture.
you got a camera?
I'm looking at it. Yeah.
And I think I may have, oh, and there's Ori. Okay, so let me go ahead and get him.
Oh, okay.
All right. And
There's everybody.
but Ed, I think I mistakenly brought him up. So let me fix that.
Can you hear me? This is Ori.
Okay, yeah, Ori, we got you. Good, thanks.
All right.
So and we got Glenn, we got Ori, we got Joe. There we go.
Somebody tell me how to see the participants besides Rayvon. I see 3 participants. How do I get the rest of them up?
Gallery view over in the upper right-hand corner.
Easy for you to say. Don't see that. There's no gallery view in my upper right-hand
It just
corner.
says view up there, Glenn. And you click on that and then it gives you gallery and you click on that.
Well,
Or let's see,
Are you on a PC, Glenn?
shoot. Oh, no, you do it down at the bottom, Glenn, on the participants. Sorry. I don't know.
Let's see, who else do I have here? I'm trying to. Glenn, are you still with us?
He just left. They just disappeared.
Let's see, Joe. I'm still trying to get a message to. Okay, here we go. Joe, if you can hear me, *6 should be able to unmute you, Joe. Try that. Because right now I've only got 4 panelists. I've got Dave, Marjorie, Ori, and myself. So I think we've lost Glenn and Joe. So he must have dropped off. So we'll hope that hopefully they'll call back on. Oh, there's Glenn. Okay. And then we'll promote Glenn to a panelist. Ed, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, and we keep, for some reason, are you near, I don't think you're near Glenn, or, but I keep accidentally promoting you and I don't mean to do that. I mean, you will get a chance to speak if you'd like, but hold on, we're getting more attendance, so people are just joining late. So I'll just
Okay.
have you all be patient for a moment.
No problem.
Glenn, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, cool. And you have been promoted, so that's good. Okay, cool. Rejoining the webinar as a panelist. Okay, so Glenn's a panelist. Okay, we've got 6 panelists now, so that's good.
Does anybody know Scott's number? I wonder if that's Scott.
I've
Yeah.
texted him twice.
That might be him on the 120 number.
Hold on, let's see. No, he'd be a different number. We've got enough to get it started, but I'd like to see if we could get Joe back on the line. Oh, there he is.
Hey, I'm unmuted. This is Joe. Can you
There
hear
you
me?
go. All right, now we
There
got
he
you.
is.
All
Star
right.
6 is the answer.
Yes, star 6 is the answer. Okay, so we have Joe Shelton. We have Glenn.
And
We have Justin on the, let me go to the panelists. Dave, Marjorie, Glenn, and Ori. And I've got to get Joe promoted to a panelist.
I think he is.
I
He's
don't-
up there now.
He is, okay. All right. I think we've got enough to, Marjorie, I think we've got enough to get started. If you'd
Enough to
like.
get started. Okay. So will that suffice as the roll call, or?
I think we've been rolled. I think we've been rolled enough.
Okay. Is somebody?
This is being
So
recorded.
it's just going to be recorded. Okay, great.
Yeah. And just so you know, this is being recorded. And what we'll do is we're going to send the MP3 file to a company, and then what they'll do is they'll transcribe it for us.
Interesting. All right, well, thank you everybody for attending tonight. See a couple familiar faces in the participants crowd. Glenn, would you like to go ahead and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Are we doing that
I'd be
tonight?
happy to.
Great.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic
To the
for which it
republic for
stands,
which it
Stands.
stands,
one nation under God,
Under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you.
Marjorie, do you have a copy of the agenda? I can put it up on the screen if you'd like.
I do have a copy, but
No need.
okay. We're going to start out with presentations and oral communications. This is a chance for the general public to give any kind of presentation that they want, limited to 2 minutes. And we ask that you state your name, your address, so that we can get an accurate record for our minutes. Do we have anybody from the public that would like to speak? I know someone out there wants to speak, surely.
Let's see if any hands are raised. I've just raised my hand, but I don't see any hands raised. Let's check the participants. Hold on. I mean, the attendees.
Well,
I
I
don't
know
see
one
any.
of them, I know one of them wants to speak.
Okay,
me
I
just make
don't
sure
see any hands
that-
raised yet. Okay, here we go. Ted Crocker.
So Sarah Chavez wants to speak, but she texted me. She said she can't get in. Is
Okay,
there
hold
any
up,
way?
hold up. No, well, she's listed on the attendee list. Let me give her an allow to talk and see if that helps.
Okay,
And tell her star 6, see if that works for her.
did you hear that, Sarah? Try *6.
I will try that.
Ah, there she is.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Hi, I just wanted to sit in on the meeting and have something to say when it is time for the oral communication.
And it is time right now.
Yeah,
We're
it's
doing
time.
oral communications.
All right. I want to recognize, since we are being recorded, my name is Sarah Chavez, and I'm a resident of Santa Cruz County. There's been a lot of talk recently about, well, over the last several years, about a land swap between the airport, the city, and a private entity. While it's not on tonight's agenda, the parachute landing area safety review is. So my comments are that the use of runway 27 is being restricted because of visibility issues. The proposed land swap will result in a multi-story building, a beam runway 9, which will result in visibility issues with takeoffs on runway 2. I keep hearing that these properties are the same acreage, but what about the actual value of each piece? Has that been checked? The city is proposing trading flat, pristine land for an area that has been used as a dumping ground for development in that area over the years. Who pays for cleaning it up? Who pays for an appraisal of these properties? And why is the airport so anxious to do this swap? We don't need to own the land incorporating Zone 5 to control it. Once the Watsonville Airport compatibility planning is incorporated into the Watsonville General Plan, the Handbook criteria will control any building in Zone 5. No permits can be approved until the Watsonville Airport compatibility planning is incorporated in the Watsonville General Plan. And finally, and most importantly, is all this a prelude to shutting down runway 927 for safety issues? Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. We're going to be talking about the parachute landing area trial runs. And so perhaps that will come up a little bit later in our discussion about the land swap issue. So I will hold off on making any requests until we get to that point.
I believe committee members can make statements related to what was brought up in the oral communication if they'd like. So I'll request permission to do that real quick.
Dave, could you say that again? You were sort of verbally.
Oh, sorry about that. So under the presentations and oral communications, it says that committee members may make statements related to what was said in the oral communication. So I have a little bit to say.
Sure, go ahead, Dave.
All right, so I agree that we need to be very careful with land swaps. You know, the airport, once you give up land, is never ever going to get it back. This land is extremely valuable to the airport, and there are other locations for non-airport related activities in Santa Cruz County and in Watsonville. So I think we should be very, very careful in giving up any airport land that can be used for aviation use and turning it into non-aviation use. So it's going to have a real benefit to the airport before I will support it.
Thank you, Dave. In that light, I'd like to make a few comments about the land swap since we're talking about it now anyway. Just so you all know, because we have a few new members to the WAC, and for any of the participants, at the November 19th, 2019 WAC meeting, the WAC voted on this issue about approving the FAA process to look into the land swap. And the WAC did not support this motion, so we did not recommend to move forward with the land swap with the FAA testing for two reasons. No land use permits should be authorized until the compatibility planning is incorporated into the general plan, like Sarah mentioned. The general plan is dated 2005, and we still don't have it updated at this time. The second reason was safety concerns about moving the PLA approximately 400 feet closer to runway 20 and constructing a multi-story building approximately 500 feet directly adjacent to the approach end of runway 09. If, Rayvon, are you going to show pictures later of the proposed parachute landing? Is there going to be any diagrams shown?
Yeah, the only diagram that will be shown is a diagram relative to the proposed safety review by the FSDO. I can see if I can bring up the proposed construction so you can have a reference, so you can get an idea if you'd like.
Could you bring up the one that's in the, it's called the potential layout of future Nordic site and new PLA in the proposed airport
I'll look for that.
master plan update? I have it on, well, if you,
Yeah, I'll look for it.
it's page 60 in the AMP, the new AMP update.
Oh, okay. All right. Hold on a minute.
So I'll keep talking while Rayvon looks at that. So with this land swap, what the proposal is that the parachute landing area is going to be 400 feet closer to the center line of runway 20. It's also going to lay on top of part of the parking lot, the future parking lot for the Nordic Naturals building. I don't know, is it legal to land for parachute jumpers to land in a parking lot, to have a PLA overlying a parking lot? I don't know. We have to find that out. If the land swap occurs, like Nordic Naturals wants it, the PLA moves closer and Nordic Naturals is going to build a multi-story building that's approximately 500 feet directly abeam the runway of the approach end of runway 9. We already have this visibility issue, which is a safety hazard at Watsonville, preventing takeoffs from runway 27. This could create another safety hazard, which could be a reason for certain constituents in the community to look at shutting down parts of the airport like 927, as Sarah mentioned. She also had another point about the land being our land, the land that the airport owns now, the 3 acres. It's very good, usable land, flat, high value land, whereas the Nordic Naturals land, for those of you that haven't walked it, and I highly suggest you all go do that, it's sloped with a drainage ditch. There's a large area with buried, it's sort of a buried dump site from years of development. These properties could have very different values. So I have a question for the city and the airport is who's going to pay for these appraisals? Are appraisals going to be done to see if it's comparable value? And who's going to pay for these appraisals? One question I have is, does the city council have to be in approval of this land swap? So I don't know if you can answer that, Rayvon.
Yes, they do.
They do, okay. So as Sarah said, we don't have to own all of the land in Zone 5 to control it. The California Airport Land Use Planning Handbook, which is put out by the California Department of Transportation, controls the land use development around airports, including the development of Zone 5. So at the November 19th, 2019 meeting, the developer representing Nordic Naturals told the WAC that Nordic Naturals was only trying to be a good neighbor. And he also mentioned that the owner really liked the aesthetics of putting that building over closer to runway 09 than in their current site that they have, the 3 acres that they have. This is not a good reason to make the land swap, just to make the owner happy. Like Dave said, like we've all mentioned in the past, you know, we want to keep the airport as safe as possible. And the 99s do not feel like this would be a good move, who I represent the 99s. So in summary of what I've basically said is the land swap would create a safety hazard for the pilots at Watsonville by moving the PLA approximately 400 feet closer to the runway, to runway 20, and putting up a building approximately 500 feet from the center line directly abeam the approach end of runway 09. Also, the land swap could create a situation where advocates who want to develop the land in Buena Vista, they could attempt to shut down runway 927, and we'd have that whole fight on our hands again. And most importantly, until the Watsonville compatibility planning is incorporated into the 2005 Watsonville General Plan, no land use permits should be considered or authorized within the airport influence area, which is the 2 miles surrounding the airport fence. The compatibility planning will follow the current airport land use planning handbook and comply with the 3 previous lawsuits between the Watsonville Pilots Association and the general plan lawsuits. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Marjorie.
Any other comment from the public? It
Oh,
does.
I did, Marjorie, I had one more question on that
Yes.
particular discussion item. Do we know that Nordic Naturals actually does own that land? Was that confirmed, Avon, or are they leasing it from an owner that we're unaware of who that actually is?
They own the land.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I was just bringing up the GIS to confirm that. But
Mhm. So,
they own all those parcels, or there's actually one parcel that is on the map is I think number 111 or something. Anyway, and there's a couple different parcels, at least shown on the GIS right now. It's not always up to date. But you think they own all of those, or
No, I think the one you're thinking about, Dave, is owned by Lawton, Steve Lawton,
okay?
who
and I'm not sure if he still owns it. So,
he does.
but this is one thing we can easily check.
Okay.
So there are a number of questions that have been brought up. Let me get back to my screen here. So a number of questions that have been brought up on this. This wasn't an agenda item. What I'd like to do is get to the portion of the airport managers or the director's report that brought this up, because your timetable is correct, Marjorie, with the November 19th. And I take no issue with anything that you've said relative to how this is rolled out. Nordic requested a meeting with CDD and the city manager earlier this year. One of the questions that was asked, Glenn asked it appropriately, hey, I thought we had already talked about this and we were in a wait mode. So I'd like to kind of start there, kind of catch everybody up. And then all of the points that you're bringing up, we're going to have to figure out sometime, and it could be a special meeting, because some of the points you're making, like the comment about the parking lot, we need to share their proposed plan, but there's nobody landing in a parking lot, right? And when it comes to the slope of the ground, the area you're talking about, that was the like the dump area, that was an area that my predecessor had as a dump area behind the firing range. That's not part of the discussion. So there needs to be some work, just so that even though there's disagreement, we just have to have the same set of facts. And I don't think we have the same set of facts right now. And from the airport's perspective, one fact is true. The airport has held since 2013 a desire to own all of the safety zone property, so that we could ensure that we could preserve the airfield or protect the airfield from encroachment. That is still an objective we have. It remains to be seen whether or not private individuals can meet Part 77 airspace and the obstruction analysis, which we've already done at least a cursory one, and can build a building over there. But I guess what I'm saying is, let's go through the other elements, and however you guys want to do it. If you want to have a special session, I've asked Kimley Horn to make sure that this is a key element in the August 11th meeting. So we'll certainly have time to talk about it there. I want to make sure that everyone understands that from our perspective, we want to make sure that every single point, pro or against, is discussed. But also we want to make sure that individuals understand that, there are no underlying, conspiracy plans or anything, but only time will tell and the logic behind what's being proposed. But that's all I would say right now. If you have any other questions, I'm more than willing to answer.
Okay, well, perhaps we could table everything until after you make your presentation.
Okay.
about
Okay, and it's pretty brief. I'm going to answer Glenn's question. Hey, how did this happen? And then we can determine how we want to move from there.
That sounds good to me.
Okay.
Okay, does anyone else from the public have any comments they'd like to make? I notice we've got a Sammy down there.
I think
Uh,
there's a
He
mistake,
wanted-
but let's see if he wants to say something. You would have
Just
to unmute.
real quick, Marjorie, before,
Sammy?
Yeah, no comments.
Okay, all right.
so I have one more quick question on the ownership of the land. Can we just verify that, let's see, parcel map 35, I think maybe in the book of maps 59, something like that, is the most current map, or maybe we could just get the most current assessor's parcel map, because this shows, I thought it showed somebody by the name of Freedom Associates as the owners.
Oh, well, Freedom Associates is also Lawton, I believe. Lawton was one of there's actually 4 lawsuits associated with the general plan between the Watsonville Pilots Association and the city. And Steve Lawton purchased some land from Mr. Bergstrom, and he wanted to develop it, but this was all during the first and second
Dave,
general plan lawsuits. So I
Dave?
believe Freedom Associates is Mr.
Dave, we'll make a commitment of providing to the WAC members and including in the minutes when they're produced, who owns what in the parcels.
Okay.
Right,
Thank
so
you.
we know where Nordic Naturals is. We know what the parcel is that's next to them. We know where the Lawton parcel is. I think there are 3 parcels. They've been surveyed by Jeff Roper. But we'll make a commitment to get that to you.
Yeah, this map is dated 2005, March 2005, and it shows 4 parcels, which I think is a subdividing of the original parcels that Freedom Associates owned. I think there was only 1 parcel. Anyway, you can look at the history on the GIS.
Yeah, I mean, the key players there are Nordic Naturals, Bergstrom Kramer, and Steve Lawton Freedom Associates. And so those are the names that we dealt with going years back. But as I said, if we can put a pin in this, I'll make a commitment to get you answers about the parcels and confirm it with GIS data.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, well, next thing we will move on to number 4, the consent agenda. So we have a motion to approve the minutes from May 5th, 2021. Alex put out a new version of the minutes. She sent it to us all maybe a couple weeks ago. And so there's an updated version in the agenda package. Did everybody have a chance to see that?
Yes.
Does anybody have any questions, changes, alterations they'd like to make to the minutes?
Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts about the minutes after looking at them again this morning. Can I go on, Marjorie?
Sure.
Okay, I was looking at at item number, God, I should be wearing my glasses, 5. And this is the reference to, or 5A. And in the budget presentation, I recall Rayvon, or excuse me, on the report, Rayvon spoke about the budget presentation and mentioned that there is currently a surplus in the budget. I think it was somewhere in the range of $500,000, and a goal to increase that surplus to, I thought it was $1 million by some certain point. I think that's interesting information, and I'd like to see that added to the line regarding the budget development that the airport director indicated the current budget surplus is whatever that number is, and that the goal at a certain point in time is to have that budget surplus at whatever number that is. I think that's important information.
We can do that.
Thank you. And the other thought I have regarding the agenda is that in that same area, number 5, where there's a reference to the status of the storage facility, I do recall Marjorie having made a comment regarding the ability of the city to act on permit applications absent the general plan amendment, as she also mentioned today. I think it's important that statement be included at that part of the agenda as well, or at least that part of the minutes as well.
Okay, could I ask, and you know, we don't have to do it now. I clearly can add the fund balance amount and the goal for $1 million, but to make sure I get it right, if you guys could just shoot me an email of what you'd like to see added, I'll ensure that we add that verbiage.
Okay, I'll do that. But I do think that's important because again, that's an important record
Okay.
being made.
Mm-hmm.
And those are my only comments about the minutes.
Okay.
Well, in that light about the minutes, so a couple meetings ago, that would probably be January, when there was an airport director's report or airport director's presentation, I believe you call them, the minutes described your presentation word by word. And then for the May 5th minutes, all it said was airport director's presentation, and then it was completely left out. So that's when I requested you know, at least add something about them. So with these new minutes, with this company that's going to transcribe it, are they going to always include the airport director's presentation?
Word for word.
Okay, because for some reason it was just left out of this last one.
But and that was totally us. I mean, we attached the presentation, but we didn't take the time to note the words, but we can do that going forward.
I mean, I don't think it has to be verbatim, but at least the main points that are made.
Well, and I think so I think that's what Alex was trying to do. I mean, these meetings go, so the meetings are recorded. So imagine what happens when she comes in with a recording and she has to listen to all of it and then transcribe it. I mean, she's literally doing that. And I think, and we didn't, I don't recall when we were even meeting in the other building that we recorded it, but I don't think we were at that level of word for word. And I believe that she made the call and I approved it. Yeah, let's just summarize it. But given the comments last time, we'll just go ahead and pay for the service. We'll try to speak fewer words because
isn't there something in between that could be done where?
Well, Marjorie, I would think based on my experience that you're always relying on a clerk's ability to summarize statements made by individuals during the course of a fairly lengthy meeting. And as a consequence, that person's decisions about how to summarize those comments may not necessarily be acceptable to either the person who made the comments or to the other members of the body that's being recorded. And that's just a natural process. And so doing a pure transcript is maybe, it could be a little cumbersome in some respects, but in others it'll capture everything and make every comment part of the record. And I think that's probably a helpful method that, new technology makes possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just go with it.
Sounds good. Okay, so
the minutes will still be a summary, isn't that correct? The minutes that actually we approve at the following meeting? Or would we actually be approving a verbatim transcript?
Well, we're gonna see after this is over, because when we finish this, we're gonna go ahead and send it out to them and say, okay, how much is it gonna cost us? And so we'll go from there. But
Okay.
whatever's gonna be this first time, we're paying for it. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, because the process does allow us at the following meeting to go back and correct anything that the summarizer may not have gotten exactly
That's
the way
correct.
we'd like it, so.
That is correct.
And,
So-
and of course, there is one problem associated with seeing a transcript of what you say, that's precise, because it can be pretty frustrating to see how mangled our English can be.
So I take it we probably can't vote on the minutes now since we have some corrections.
Well, if we all understand the essence of the corrections that have been requested and are comfortable with that essence, the specific language can be added later, but we can approve the minutes as orally stated or orally corrected.
Okay, so everyone in favor of the minutes, say aye.
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 As corrected.
Anybody not in favor of the minutes? Okay, the minutes, the motion to accept the minutes has been
With
approved.
corrections.
With
With
the
the corrections.
With the
Right.
corrections. I don't believe we have any items removed from the consent agenda. So we'll move on to presentations and reports, starting with the airport director's report.
Right. I'll share my screen.
Oh, now I really need my glasses.
Oh no, it'll be okay.
Really?
Hold on. How's that?
That's beautiful.
Like
I
you
probably
said,
still
Bill,
need my glasses, but
like you said, really? Well, here you go. Okay. Thank you very much for the time tonight. This presentation is relatively short. I want to start by addressing a number of questions we've had recently regarding the recent United Flight litigation. A number of tenants have inquired in various ways, shapes, and forms regarding the barriers and why was July 1st, and here we are 28 days later. So the answer is as follows, and I'll just put it up on the screen and read it, and then see if you have any questions. For each of these slides, after each slide, I'll just pause if you have questions. So the Superior Court ruled the United Flight Services has an easement to enter and exit the airport's transient ramp where the barricades are placed. Those barricades will be removed to allow this travel. The airport will comply with the court's ruling as soon as the court clarifies the scope of this declared easement. After the court handed down its decision, both parties posed pretrial questions for clarity on the scope of the declared easement.
I mean,
The court
post-trial
notified-
those post-trial questions.
I'm sorry, post-trial questions.
Right.
For clarity on the scope and the declared easement. The court notified all counsel that the court intends to hand down clarification soon. As soon as the court's clarifications are received, the barricades will be removed and the traffic plan will be designed to flow according with the court's decision. So, so that's where we are relative to the current state with United Flight. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I just want to be clear. The position of the airport is once the court has clarified its ruling regarding the easement, it is the airport's intention to remove the barriers.
Yeah, and just for to be crystal clear, there are 3 barriers that are referenced here. Those barriers will be removed. The remaining barriers that prohibit traffic across the infield, they will remain in place.
Okay.
You follow me?
Yeah, I know that there were some questions about what remedy United Flight was seeking from the litigation, particularly with regard to additional litigation that United Flight has initiated against the city, or had initiated against the city. So I just want to be clear that it's the airport's intention to remove the barriers once the judgment is final in this case.
As noted, that's the statement in the first paragraph. That is correct.
Okay, well, I think that's a good thing. I just want to state my opinion in that regard, because I think once the court has made this ruling regarding United Flight's rights, I think it's possible to use litigation as a means of delaying that decision. But I think it behooves the airport and the city to remove the barriers as rapidly as possible after the judgment is final.
And can we ask what the clarifications we're asking for the court? What do they entail?
The courts, and trying to make sure that I'm just factually speaking, Glenn, when Judge Volkman made his declaration, it caused a number of questions. And so remove the barriers. So he wasn't clear about who could travel, what could travel. There were a number of questions around this entire discussion relative to route of travel. And both the counsel for the city posed those questions. Those questions were shared with United Flight's counsel. They had comments on it. And so these questions are going back and forth. And the judge basically said, okay, hold up a minute, let me think about it and I'll get back with you.
Okay.
I hope that
Thank
didn't
you.
more, but that's the way I interpreted it.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, the United Flight has a lease, correct?
Say again?
United Flight has a lease with the city, correct?
Yeah, they have a ground lease.
Okay, and how long is that for?
I think now it's been extended. I think it goes out to 2038 now, I believe.
Okay. And that easement is a part of that lease then, I guess.
I would say based on this ruling, yes.
Okay. There wouldn't be anything preventing United Flight and the city from mutually negotiating another possible resolution to solve your concerns and theirs.
No, there would be nothing to do that. There would be. I don't believe there's anything to prevent that. I would just note that the airport provided a number of options. At least one the airport was willing to pay for, and I don't want to speak relative to United Flight because there's no one on the line that's representing them. But no, I mean I'm not trying to make a case or anything. But to answer your question, no, there wouldn't be anything to preclude that.
Okay. Well, I guess I, as the FBO representative, might in some way be representing them.
Yes, you might.
I don't know.
I don't know
with their permission.
Yeah, I was yeah.
You don't represent them as a party in the litigation, though.
Right. But I would like to look out for the business interests of all of the businesses on the airport. I think that's kind of my charter.
I would agree.
It is. Yes.
Any other question? Okay, hearing none. The next item is the airport compliance documents manual update. Oh, I'm sorry, the master plan. Sorry, this is the first one. So this chart, this timeline, kind of almost a Gantt chart here, it gives you an idea of where we are relative to the airport master plan. I'd like to take a moment just to thank Marjorie and Scott and Joe for their assistance in serving as a planning review committee. It's the dark circle with the little thought balloon inside, or conversation balloon. You'll see over on the left-hand side that we are making progress. We're about halfway through. If you track over from task to the date in question, July, you'll see that we're at number 6, and we have just presented our aviation forecast to the FAA. So that was last week. Yeah, last week, and we're awaiting their review. It's a very important decision point because those forecasts determine some of the other items that follow afterward. So we're making progress. I think it has slipped a couple of months. I was hoping we'd be going before the council for final approval with the documents in January. It looks like we're into March of next year. But the airport's pleased with the work, and I think we have some good progress. With that said, one of the key elements, and I'll just pause here, is in looking through the files of the airport for the master plan that was completed in the early 2000s, late 1990s, early 2000s, we found the plan, but we couldn't find a record of a public comment, an opportunity for pilots, users, tenants, nearby residents, community citizens to comment. So in the airport manager's discipline, the master plan has a formula, a theme, a roadmap, and one of the key elements of the roadmap are multiple, not just one, but multiple planning meetings. And I believe we have 2 scheduled here. This is the first one. It's going to be August, and you're going to see this in the local newspapers. All pilots, tenants, and users will be receiving a mailing from the airport. We have reached out to the city GIS, and we have called the parcel owners and addresses of individuals that are adjacent to the airport within a certain distance. I think we sent out over 250 some letters to the tenants and about 500 letters to the citizens nearby, in making every effort to at least let individuals know that, hey, this is an airport and there's a planning process and we would like your input. So that's, we certainly are expecting to see Marjorie and Scott and Joe at the meeting. We'd like to see all members of the WAC and any interested individuals on the line. Any questions?
When did you send out the letters?
Today.
Oh, no wonder I haven't gotten it yet.
Yeah. We can't, well, I mean, we can't, if we send them out too soon, and that was a big debate here, trying to look at modeling and, postal times and whatnot. So there'll be an ad in the RP this Friday, and next Friday, an ad in the Sentinel the Sunday before. So we're trying to get them out by the time they should be getting in your mailbox next week, this weekend or next week. And so that we figured a little less than 2 week notice is enough that people won't forget. Any other questions?
I do have one more. The forecast period, how far out does that go? The aviation forecast.
It goes out 20, let's see.
2040, I think.
20 years.
40 years?
20. 20.
20. Okay. I'm just curious if they consider anything, how they try to factor in new technologies such as like eVTOLs or something like that.
That's our challenge, to convince them, but I can tell you that it is nowhere as sophisticated as you would think it is. But once again, that's why at the public meeting, and I can't stress this enough, that's why it's important for pilots and individuals, users, and people that are love the airport to be there to ask those types of questions, because at the end of the day, that forecast is key to the airport's future development. Remember, the 2 things that are required are an airport layout plan and an aviation forecast. Everything else is a best practice: rules, regulations, municipal code, minimum standards, lease documents, development standards. It's all good stuff. But at the end of the day, what's going to be a key element to determine your ACIP funding is your layout plan and your forecast. Any other questions? Okay. When we last left in May, we were in the middle of the litigation, and we had sent a letter to the advisory committee in January saying, hey, in 6 months, we're going to update the regulations. That letter never went out because we were in the negotiation, we were in the litigation, and thought that the prudent thing to do was let's just wait until the decision is made. Well, the decision is made, but we don't have a final on it yet. So we're gonna wait until we have the final. What we have determined that we're gonna do here is we will repeat the process. Once the decision is made, the letter that we plan, the airport plans to send to the tenants will be first sent to members of the advisory committee. And it will basically say, hey, here are the challenges, here are the things that we're proposing to make a change. What do you guys think? You'll provide those comments. You know, we'll take those into consideration. The letter will then be sent out, and the draft regulation, just like the last time, will be posted online. We'll go through a public comment period, take all of those comments in, sort through them here, just like we've done with the parachute landing zone, and we did with the Muni Code in 2015 and the regulations in 2007, put them in a spreadsheet, put all the comments, and then in one column, we put the airport's response to those comments. And then we're gonna provide those comments to you guys to get your input, so that we'll have the original comment, our comment, your comment, and then we'll share that with the public one more time before we make any final change to the regulations. And we think that process is going to take us at least 2 or 3 months. Any questions on that?
So that was a draft letter to the WAC.
Yes.
Get our comments on the letter.
Yes.
Then there'll be a draft of proposed changes to the regulations.
Yes.
It will not be, I assume it will not be announced as something that goes into effect as of a specific date in that form.
That's
but
correct.
rather this is what is proposed.
Correct.
It'll go to the WAC for comments. Was that part of the process?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, well,
Okay.
the idea is once we send out the letter goes out, and let's say it has, we're going to make these 3 changes, and you guys, and you look at it and say, well, that third change there, what do you mean? Well, we mean this. Oh, well, you don't say it like this. Oh yeah, that's better. We'll do that.
Right.
So then it goes out. And then once it goes out, then the next thing is we have the actual draft of the regulations. We send that to you guys, just same thing we do with the letter. We send it to you guys first. Here they are, to give you guys a chance to look at it. And the reason we want to do that is because you 3 of you collectively represent constituents. And it's my hope that you will immediately take that look at it, but give early sharing of it with your constituents. There's no need for you to keep it inside, and then you can provide feedback back to us. We can tweak it one more time before we publish the world. Here is the proposed document. Then individuals comment on that document. We take those comments. Just like we did, as I said, with the others, we would have statement A. A person would say, you know, I think this should be this. And we would come back and say, well, the reason it's this is because of that. And then we will have that all filled out, and then we will forward it to you for your comments. Then we have the proposal, a comment, our rationale, your comment, and then we take all that together and determine what the final regulation is going to be.
Okay, thank you for repeating that, Rayvon. In fact, it was because I couldn't keep up with you when I was taking notes on this. So.
All you got to do is say slow down.
I should have said that, but
no, that's fine. We've done it this way so many times. I think that I lose sight of the fact that everyone's not involved. There are people that were never involved in any of these, and I'm finding out recently, like I never knew that happened, and that kind of strikes us as kind of like, really? But it's a real world scenario. But what we're trying to do, and even though I might have rushed through it, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that everyone understands the rationale, because we're making some changes. There are regulations you're going to see that we had that we're saying we're not going to do this anymore, because we've learned over the 2 years, 4 years that it doesn't work, or wait a minute, there's a better way to do it. So we want to make sure that we're transparent as possible. Okay, any other questions? All right, the parachute landing review. So to Marjorie's point, and I think she accurately stated it, but just to recap one more time, at the end of 2018 and early into 2019, the airport was approached by Guy Chandra, who is a consultant for Nordic Naturals, regarding the fact that Nordic Naturals saw its business expanding and had already completed one expansion. You may remember some time ago, they expanded their facility larger than it is. I've got to get a better drawing here because it doesn't show the existing facility, and I should have just a better drawing with the existing facility. And they approached the airport, and I said, well, you know, we have a commitment to the advisory committee that nothing goes on within the safety zones, certainly 1 through 5, without making sure that the CDD group, and this is Justin and Susie, that they understand that any permit, any construction, specifically if we have to run an OE obstruction evaluation airspace analysis without going through the airport and allowing us to daylight it to the WAC. So the commitment I made to the WAC in 2012, when the new land use handbook came out, and the commitment I made to the city is that the airport would serve as a daylight, depending on how you want to look at it, or early warning system. So we're going to daylight this so people know it's an early warning system so people aren't surprised. And over the weekend, and making sure that people downtown understand that if it's in a safety zone, you got to touch base with the airport so we can have enough time to highlight the WAC. During the course of that year, going into 2019, the airport met with members of the WAC and allowed Mr. Chandra to make his case about Nordic Natural's desire to expand and the concept of a land swap. During the course of the year, it seemed that it made sense. And out of the 7 WAC members, if I remember my math, 5 thought, hey, this could make sense. This could be a good thing. And 2 were like, I'm not sure if this is the right thing to do. I'm not sold. By the time we got to November of 2019, and the WAC was meeting downtown in the council chambers, it was very clear that the WAC viewed the following. We believe that a land swap that resulted in a relocation of the parachute landing area with a building in the proximity that you're looking at is not in the best interest of the airport in terms of safety and in terms of long-term viability. As a result of that, the airport's view was, well, okay, well, I think that takes care of it for now. That's one data point, and went back to the city manager and to CDD and said, so this is the perspective of the pilots. It's one data point. What other data points are required? It was the decision then, based on the city manager and CDD, that, you know what, we don't want anything to slow down the progress of the general plan. And we're working with Mead and Hunt to update our airport land use compatibility plan, and we want to put that into the general plan. This is the beginning of 2020. So I said, okay, the airport does not want to slow that down. So we are not going to do anything until you guys finish that effort. And that was the statement I made to Marjorie. And I think she questioned, well, when was that made? But it was made in early 2020. So we go through 2020 and we get to the end of the year, and lo and behold, and I had spoken to Sarah. I'd sent emails to I believe someone on the WAC trying to figure out, hey, where's the lawyer with their review of this, because they were reviewing the Mead Hunt document, and it was just taking longer than I had anticipated. When we come into the beginning of 2021, there's still no action. So early in the year, probably back in the springtime, Nordic Naturals met with myself and the city manager and the CDD director via virtual call, and basically said, hey, look, our timetable has changed. Our timetable has changed, and we want to move forward with the land swap and seeing if we can do this development. And my comment to them was, well, as it stands right now, there's still a question as to whether or not this process is moving forward. Their question to me was, okay, well, look, we need to make a business decision because we can build that building on our land. Now, I'm going to step back here because that's a statement they made. I'm not saying there's any truth to it, but that's a statement they made. And they said, in order for us to make a determination as to whether or not we want to build that building on our land or continue with the land swap at some point, we need to know if the FAA would even approve or issue a determination that someone could land there. And we would request that question be answered. I saw that question as a reasonable question. They're trying to make a business decision. And so based on that, I said to them, I will reach out to the FAA. I will reach out to the skydivers. I will make sure we daylight this to the advisory council and let them know that what you guys would like to do is coordinate on your dime, whatever cost is involved in making this happen, paying for the jump, moving fences, laying out an area, whatever cost is incurred, but it's on your dime to make this happen. And so that is what we're calling, going back to the 2013 through 15 effort when the skydivers were first moving, a pending safety review. The safety review in itself consists of multiple pieces, and my wording could have been better because it's really a demo jump, which is one element of the safety review. There are other pieces we have to do, we have to complete, but this is what is coming before you now is, hey, we're letting you know that the airport at Nordic Natural's request is reaching out to the FSDO and the skydivers to conduct a demonstration jump or series of jumps at a time to be stated in accordance with FAR 105-21, which basically says that an airport operator can at virtually any time say, hey, you can land over there. But in this particular case, we're saying, yeah, you can land over there, but only for purposes for an observed jump by the FSDO. So that's the story, that's the update, and that's the story behind this slide.
Hey, Rayvon, who is it the FSDO or the FAA or whoever looks at the visibility viability of runway 09 from 02 on either building?
Okay,
location?
So that's a different question.
Yeah.
Let me approach it differently.
So my question is this: if it was not feasible to build a building because of visibility or safety issues at either location, wouldn't that be the first thing you would do before you do whether or not parachute jumpers can land there or not?
Okay, so and I think that's a statement that I don't think is based on fact. So early on, when this request came up, I did a Part 77 analysis of the ability to build a building in where you see as B, and I can provide it to you guys. It's basically you go into the design criteria. There's a methodology formula for slope, and it allows them to build a 2-story building even closer, right to the edge of their property. So that doesn't impact the runway visibility trapezoid or rectangle. Really, it's 4-sided. It doesn't affect that at all. Whether it's 9, 2, 2, 7, 2, 2, 0, it doesn't affect that at all. So a building can be built in either spot, and it will not cause an obstruction evaluation or airspace analysis problem.
Okay.
All right, so that's why I mean, a lot of things are brought up, and I want to be careful because when people say, well, it's so-and-so, that statement may sound reasonable, but if it's not rooted in fact, it's just not. And so the challenge we have is, okay, we don't want to come across as trying to crush that. Let's step back and say, well, here's how it works. And in that particular case, even to say that a building is going to be close to the elbow of 9, taxiway Charlie, that once again, the Part 77 slope has different rise and runs based on the location of the center line. And so we're looking at center line differences from where the building is. At any rate, this entire discussion around what goes where will be had and questions will be answered. And there are positions that if they're proven factual, the lawsuit, the Caltrans, the numbers that are restricted based on avoid, prohibit, limit in the safety zones, all that's factual stuff. All I'm saying is that there are other questions that need to be answered as we move through this. And I'm just trying to vet and make sure that we answer all the questions.
I just want to reiterate one more time what was said earlier on in the meeting. Is someone going to evaluate the values of these properties? Because there might be.
Yeah, no,
might be.
No, absolutely. So yes, and yes. The FAA makes it very, very clear. And once again, I can share this with you once we get, they have a process. You just don't say, hey, let's swap it. It looks good to me, let's do it. They will require at a minimum that both properties must be surveyed. Environmental analysis must be done on both properties. An appraisal must be done on both properties. The cost of any effort for the land swap can't be borne by the airport. All of this has to be borne by the other side, so to speak. So, and Nordic Naturals is aware of that. We stated that there's no money coming out of the airport to do this. This is a no cost effort for the airport. Even the demo jump, who's paying for the guys falling out of the sky? It's going to be Nordic Naturals. The airport's not paying for it. What if we want to go out and do some special preparation of the area to ensure their safety? The airport's not paying for that. Nordic Natural has to pay for that. So it's very, very clear on the FAA side what hurdles are required in order to do this. And it is not, it's not trivial.
Raven, how long
Good.
does that FAA process take? About a year?
It depends. Right now, I'm waiting for a determination from, so there are 3 people that are involved. FSDO from a flights perspective, the ADO from a bound airport layout perspective, and FAA safety and compliance. And they are going back to look at the instrument of transfer because they want to confirm that the property that will be swapped is part of the original instrument of transfer. You can't swap property that you got an FAA grant for. So when Don got a grant to get the clear zone property over at Gilbertson over by the driving range, that property was acquired with FAA funds. That's a totally different process and much more arduous. A process like this could take anywhere from 3 months to 6 months.
So the process with the FAA has already started?
It has no. It stopped back in, the process is a 3-piece process. As I said, it's the FSDO has to do their safety, the ADO has to do an airport layout plan update, which means it has to go to various business people, and the FAA has to have a safety and compliance piece. We were starting that in the fall of 2019. In 2020, we stopped. We just said, okay, we're on hold. So nothing else was done. Only recently has Nordic Naturals come back and said, hey, can you do this jump so we can make a determination if we want to build our building there or not? And in all fairness, I can't say to them, no, we're not going to do that. They're paying for it.
No, I just wondered if it had started. So you're saying it got started in the fall of 2019?
By using the word start means I send an email message and I'm asking questions and I'm writing letters and I'm saying, hey, what's the process? And they're coming back and saying, here's how it works. And then there is a sequential process that you go through where you actually do start the appraisals, start the meets and bounds. That's starting the process, and that work has not been done.
Do you plan to have a public meeting with the pilot community concerning this land swap, moving the PLA?
But most certainly, just like we did when we're going to go through the same process that we went through when the PLA first showed.
But before the land swap is approved.
Well, it'll be. Well, remember, there are 2 approvals here. The FAA has to say yeah, and then the city council has to say yeah, right? So I want the pilots involved in it early, but there's no reason why they can't run concurrently. There's no reason. We have not started that process. We're gathering data. I guess that's the best way to say it. We're gathering data. The data must be gathered and then submitted to the FAA so they can say, okay, once again, the 3 key elements of that data are a determination by the FSDO. Yeah, we don't see this as a flight hazard or words to that effect. B, we're going to update your layout plan. And when we update the layout plan, we have to make sure that it is an aeronautical activity and it meets the calculus for a layout plan. You can't put an aeronautical activity on another aeronautical activity. You couldn't have them landing on hangars, right? So they're gonna check that. And then finally, the safety and compliance review, which is looking at the meets and bounds, doing the appraisal, ensuring that we're getting a good deal from the FAA's perspective. So all of those things have to happen, and they have to come together in some type of package presentation, go to district, go to region, and then be approved.
Rayvon, I have a question. Marjorie, if
No, go ahead, Rory.
thank you. I have a couple of questions. First, you talked about the demonstration jump. What is intended to be demonstrated by that jump?
Okay, it's in, the FAA will come out and they will look at the parachute landing area and make a determination based on the jump's final disposition, where they landed, how they landed. They're going to check everything from packing their chute to the pilot's operation to the person coming out. And they're going to make an assessment, make a determination, I'm sorry, as to whether or not that jump, in their opinion, is, I don't want to say safe because they don't use that word, but they make a determination, and because that's what they call it, they make a determination. So that's about all I can say. I can share with you the determination letter that was issued in 2013 for the current parachute landing area, because it will be something similar to that.
Is that demonstration jump the only factor that will be considered in determining the safety of relocating the landing zone?
No. The FSDO will also they'll do similar to what they did when the PLA first appeared. They'll contact TRACON and they will have discussions with them relative to pilot operation, heights, altitudes. There's a letter of agreement between the jump school and TRACON, so that has to be done. They will contact, it's a business unit discussion. They will contact the ADO, the ADO, the airport's district office. These are the people that work the ALP, and they'll sync with them to make sure that, this is going to be on the ALP, the airport layout plan. And they will also sync with the safety and compliance guy to basically confirm that, this is where it is. So that jump is not the, you can do it. It's just one data element in a series, in a series of actions to make a determination.
Okay, because I think
Joe, I have a question. Go ahead.
Well,
Oh, go
I just wanted my last thought on safety was that I know that the closer we get to the active runway, the more likely we are to have airport operations closer to the landing zone operations. So, for example, if an aircraft has to do a go round, as I recall from my instruction, I'm going to go off to the right of the runway so I can avoid traffic that might be on the runway and perhaps staying in the pattern, and that puts me closer to parachute landing activities. That's not something I can plan. I would be planning a landing, not planning a go round. And so I'm concerned that, those types of operational questions are going to be taken into consideration. It may be that that's not a realistic concern, but to me right now it is a concern. And I just want to be assured at some point in time that those factors are being considered.
This is Joe. I've got it. Oh, sorry.
I'm done.
This is Joe. I've got a couple of points. One of them is to the go around. Not every airplane that lands at Watsonville on 20 is familiar with the airport. A lot of people are coming in, maybe planning to have a $100 hamburger or whatever. And a go around is naturally going to be an offset to the right. And if you're not familiar with the airport, then you're probably not familiar with the fact that the landing zone for the skydivers is off to the right and they're over the right. So I've always had some concern, and this comes from somebody who has a lot of experience skydiving. I've always had some concern about where they're landing. The second thing that I'd like to say is that this demonstration jump, if it's in no wind condition, today's ram air canopies are much more powerful than the ones I used to jump. But, there's still the issue of you have to plan for the worst case, and the worst case is a pretty heavy wind. And I'm just wondering how they take that into account.
So good question, Joe. They take it into account in that it will most likely not be a single jump, but it will be a series of jumps. Multiple jumps over the course of a couple hours in a day, and then at some other point, there's a detailed discussion between the FSDO and the operators there relative to winds and what they look at, et cetera. But I'd be lying to you if I said that they were going to be jumping, 100 times to determine it. The FSDO makes a pretty broad sweeping determination, just as they did last time when they were doing the practice jumps in what is depicted as Area A.
I have a question. The ADO could also disapprove just the fact that they don't believe that the airport's aeronautical use should be given away. They may decide that aeronautical use at an airport trumps the the expansion of non-aeronautical use, and they could just outright deny it for that, I believe.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. No, that's true. There's nothing to say that the FSDO says it's okay. The ALP guys say, yeah, you're not displacing aeronautical activity. The safety and compliance guy says, yeah, it makes sense to me, and it go up the region, and region say no. And the reason I say that is because that's exactly what happened in 2013. In 2013, it wasn't a parachute landing area. It was just a land swap for purposes of obtaining the safety area. Nordic Naturals wasn't even in the game, but we went through a sequence in which we put together a very good case, safety, why we wanted the safety zone, et cetera. But at the end, they denied it.
I'd also like to comment that the slide that you have there does say Freedom Associates property. It doesn't say Nordic Naturals. I think maybe it's a euphemism, maybe smartly on the part of the developer to use Nordic Naturals, because obviously they bring income and taxes to the city, whereas a landowner who just wants to grab airport land might not be viewed quite so favorably. Nordic Naturals is just a tenant, I believe, right? So the real beneficiary is going to be the landowner, because Nordic Naturals could leave at any time. This guy gets his ability to expand his, develop his land. The owner does. So it seems to me the real, interested party is that we should probably say Freedom Associates, not Nordic Naturals. Now, I don't know what the association with Nordic Naturals is as far as, land lease, and they're building the building, I guess, but it just seems like maybe somebody's trying to make something sound a little less offensive by using Nordic Naturals than the actual owner of the land.
So relative to that, I think the only way to address that is to answer that first question: parcels, who owns what?
Right.
The map you're looking at here, if you take off the yellow circles and you take off the B and all of that, this was a map that was reused from 2012.
Yeah, it might be nice to get an updated
and we can do that.
Imagery so that you can see exactly where the Nordic Natural.
Can I share something on my screen that this is from the Airport Master Plan?
Sure.
See if I can make this work. Let's see.
Is it working?
Well,
let me see. Hold up. Let's see.
I was looking for that document.
Who can share all panels? Yeah, you're set to go. Okay. What were you trying to share?
Well, I'm trying to. I can move it out into my desktop, and then it'll be there, I think. Basically, it's a couple documents from the Airport Master Plan update.
Mm-hmm.
It says I can do desktop 1, but let's see. Systems preferences. Okay, let me see. I think I'm getting there. probably don't see anything, do you?
Not yet. Dave, you've got your hand up?
Oh, I can put that down now. I get to say my piece. Thank you.
Were you trying to show some of the site plans for Nordic?
No, no, this was a document that was, it's page 60, 59 and 60 from the airport master plan, the update. It's the potential layout of future Nordic site and new PLA. It shows runway 9, runway 20. It gives us a much clearer picture.
Okay, hold on, let me see if I can find that.
Can't seem to.
Let's see. This is the most recent facilities document from Kimley Horn. Marjorie?
I believe it is, yes.
Let's see.
I just can't get it to share from my screen.
Well, just give me a minute here. Let me see if I can find it. Just give me 1 minute here. Okay. Just bear with me, bear with me, bear with me.
You know which one I'm talking about?
What was it? Okay, I think
The first one's called Current PLA and Nordic Land Ownership Proposed Future Site.
yeah,
The second one is
I'm just trying to find the document that they sent you guys to review. We reviewed it first. Just trying to find it. So many documents, so many documents. It's not it. Okay. All right, what page did you say?
59 and 60.
59. 59. What title is it under? What title is it under? What section?
I don't know, I just copied those 2 pages.
We're talking about the facilities document, the most recent one.
You know, I'm not sure, Rayvon, offhand. I have them on my screen and I was hoping to share them that way, but I don't know, this Zoom won't.
And this is from the most recent one that you and Scott and Joe reviewed.
I believe it was from the most recent one, but I was trying to find it in that document today. I couldn't find it, so.
Okay, I won't take up any more time here.
Sure, I don't know if anybody can see that.
But
You see that?
what does it depict again?
I don't know.
Martin?
I don't know the chapter. We've only had 3. I contacted Erin today, but she didn't know either, so.
Okay, let's you and I see if we can share tomorrow, and then we can try to figure out a way to make it. I'm looking at the facilities document, but it stops at page 58. There is no page 60.
I'll tell you what, if I email it to you right now, can you share it?
Sure.
Okay,
Sure. Well,
Sounds
are there any other questions? Because we can always come back to this. So I will wait. Let me see. Okay. So let's see, I'm waiting for your email here. So while we're waiting for that to come across, any other questions regarding the process? I mean, to Marjorie's point, if I could put words in your mouth, when will there be a opportunity, town hall, open house, for the pilot community to learn as much as they can about exactly what's happening, why is it happening, how is it happening, okay, how do we comment on it, and how do we ensure that we're heard? When will that happen? And so I can assure you that one of the first times to make that happen is on August 11th at the airport master plan, because that's going to be that's where the input comes in. And then as we begin to move, as this effort begins to move forward, because I still don't have direction from the city that we should not do what we were doing in the past. Remember, the only direction that I have right now is, yeah, we'll go ahead and do the safety jump, but we haven't. The city manager nor CDD has said to me, yeah, let's move forward with the land swap. And I believe one of the reasons is they're taking the same view as Nordic Naturals is. If the determination comes back from the FSDO that, no, this isn't a smart idea, then they'll go ahead and they'll put the building there.
I did send it off to you, Rayvon.
Okay, let me check. I got it. Okay. All right, here we go. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. Take that down. Share the screen. Share. Oops, wait a minute. Let me see. Oh, new share. I want to share this one. Let me stop now. Hold up. Okay. Current PLA Nordic Natural Land ownership. So let's see if we can blow it up a little bit. Okay. So this is one scenario that would show this is my interpretation. The parachute landing area remains where it is. Let's see if I can get my cursor there. It's still there, the taupe looking circle. The new potential building is there. Nordic Naturals parking lot is here. This would be the result of no land swap. This potential scenario would be, here is the parachute landing area. The dashed circle there, and this may be your reference, Marjorie, about landing in the parking lot.
Mhm.
What would happen in this particular case is there would be a fence line that would go through here, and parachute landing areas don't have to be perfect circles. I mean, in many cases they are not, but they would not be landing on that 107 feet worth of area. They would be limited to this area in here. Once again, the buildings would be here. So this would be, I would hope that we would be showing this at the ALP, I'm sorry, the master plan. But yeah, this is one of the potentials if they were to move forward.
Could you make sure that Erin puts that into the presentation? I know that she's working hard to get ready for that meeting now, because otherwise the pilots really won't see it.
Yes.
So this is one of the 4 sites that Nordic Naturals Guy Chandra presented last time. Is that correct?
I believe so. I think they're down to 1 or 2 now. I'm not sure, but they can only have so many, because they're looking potentially at this area here, right, to develop, but for whatever reason, they're either going to be here, and I believe this is their preference, or in this configuration here.
Well, if I were a developer, that's the way I would try to get it across, because now then they have that other place to the west.
So if we could, though, we got someone else waiting in the, we got someone else waiting in the,
Subsequently, right? So go for the big play early and then fill in.
I mean, I appreciate that. I mean, but it's their building, it's their plan. And I mean, we're just, I mean, once again, if you ask what's in it for the airport, it is our considered belief that a safer scenario is avoiding structures in any way in safety zone 5. That's what we're trying to do. But at any rate, I'm going to stop sharing this, Marjorie. You do have my commitment that we'll make sure that I will send your note to Erin and ask her to have, they're going to be basically big boards in there, and we'll make sure that this diagram is up and that there's a station to address this.
But just a point about that, the PLA being partially a parking lot. Think about that. They're not going to have any control over how many cars are there. If it's a used parking lot, there's probably going to be cars. So the jumpers are going to try to land as closer to the runway than they might if it wasn't a parking lot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Just one little point.
Totally understood. So I'd like to move on because we do have someone else in the wings, and we've already held them a little bit longer, and I only have one more, I think, or a couple of more. May I continue?
Sure. Anybody else have anything else about the PLA?
Just real quick, I'd like to maybe get us to start saying Nordic Natural / Freedom Associates, because it seems like they're really in together, right? You know, who's actually paying for the safety evaluation could be Freedom Associates, not actually Nordic Naturals.
Well,
It
let me
still
do
seems
this
to me that
let me get some documentation that shows exactly who owns it, and I'll get that out to you guys as soon as possible. I'll just add that to my list. Well, that is the list. Who owns what? That's the key question. But I'll get that out to you. Any other questions? Okay. Next on the agenda is, I gotta look and see here. I lost it.
Open house.
Open house. Thank you. So, what's going on here? Okay. So, September 4th. We're working to confirm these elements. This poster is a mock-up down at the bottom where you see first responder, and then there'll be actual sponsor logos there. Watsonville Chevrolet, Kaiser, some other sponsors. But the idea is 5:30, gates open. All of the aircraft that are on the transient permanent tie-down area and the temporary tie-down area moved north of 27, similar to the old days. Cars are brought in over a gate 1. We split the fence over there so we can get as cars. High school teams come in and park the cars as part of a fundraiser. We charge X amount of dollars for the cars. The teams get a split. We have PD, private security. We'll use some local CERT resources as extra eyes on the field. Individuals come in, there's 10 or 12 food trucks. We have a live band. We have some aircraft on display. We have a nighttime movie. We're working to get the flag jump. We're working to get the flyover. There's a kid zone with the bounce house. There's an opportunity to be part of the city's summer series, which started with the 4th of July, kind of like modified parade. The Strawberry Festival is coming up in a couple of weeks downtown Watsonville. So it's July, August, September, and the summer ends with the fireworks display. We're working a VIP venue, but we haven't figured it out quite yet. But from a pilot's perspective, what does this mean? If you're on the south side of the field, there could be some impact on you because Airport Boulevard will be closed from Hangar Way all the way to Loma Prieta. So you could very well find yourself in a situation where you couldn't get on the field after a certain time because the roads are closed. If you are on the field at that time and you're trying to move and you want to fly, you certainly will be able to fly to taxi down Alpha or taxi down Charlie. Charlie will be a little bit controlled, but we'll have people out there marshaling, and you can leave the airport during the during the times when there's no flag jump, the airspace will be closed then, and there'll be a TFR issued for the fireworks. Formation flyover will not be waivered airspace, so it would be seeing a void for that. But other than that, we've found over the last 3 years when we've had, or the 3 years that we've had this, that local pilots pretty much just stay put. And we hold the event, fireworks go off at 9:30. The event's over by 10:30. Any questions? Okay. So, and this is one, I'm not going to go through these, but I am going to send each member of the WAC a copy of this so that you can share it with your constituents. This, since in 2011, when I started, after my first year in 2012, I wanted to produce a year in review for the council, and it just didn't work out in getting it to them. And so I said, well, that's all right. We'll just share it with the pilots community. So for a number of years, at the monthly meetings with the WPA and the EAA and the 99s, I would present the year in review, highlights, lowlights, and what you could look for in the coming year, and have done that every year since 2012. So this year is no different. Highlights, lowlights, also what you can do to look ahead. This gives you an idea of the types of things that we're planning, but it also talks about the ACIP plan, you know, what we're doing with those surplus dollars. In some cases, that surplus dollars, it can be used to fund a portion that the FAA doesn't pay for, which is normally small. But over the next 2 years, we have some environmental work that we need to do, and the FAA doesn't pay for that. So it's environmental work for rehabbing the taxi lanes, rehabbing the permanent tie down area, and we've got to have funds for that. And so this talks about that. But also, as I mentioned to Marjorie, what I did is I went back and I looked at all of the 10 years, and with the staff here, we selected, you know, the top elements for that particular year and highlights. And what this does is it goes back to 2011, and it shows the various types of things that have occurred here on the field. Everything from the initial 193,000 environmental grant to that'll set us up for Charlie, all the way to bring in an RNAV approach, TAPIs, the runway rehabilitation, remarking the runway, all kinds of stuff. And then, of course, on the flip side, there's a decade of lowlights with everything as tragic as the aircraft that crashed into the hospital parking lot, to the instrument approaches being not applicable at night until we cut the tree, to the 172 being stolen, to even the United Flight litigation. So I'll send this to you guys individually sometime later on tonight. But that concludes my my presentation.
Okay, great. Thank you, Rayvon. And next, we've got the Community Development Department presentation. Justin, if you'd like to take over on that.
All right, let me promote him. Justin, I'm going to promote you and all of your buddies there. Let's see. So that's Ed. That's Justin and Sammy. So you guys should be good to go. Justin, it's all yours.
So I can see I can speak, but it doesn't look like I can share my screen or present. And if you wouldn't mind making sure that the applicant.
Okay, I'll do that. Hold on. Let me promote them to panelists too.
There we go.
Okay, I think you're good to go now.
Excellent. And just to let you be aware, the applicant and his representative, Ted Crocker and Ed.
Oh, okay, got him.
They are both in attendance.
Okay, so I just promoted Ted.
And so I'll give a brief presentation, and I know that they're available in case there's any questions about their proposed facility too.
All right, so I think that Sammy, Ed, Ted, and I think I promoted Ted to a panelist.
Okay, let me put that over here. So hopefully you can see the presentation slides. And so my name is Justin Meek. I'm with the Community Development Department. For those that haven't met me before, I'm the city's principal planner. I work in the Community Development Department. And we're giving a presentation on the proposed self-storage facility located at 70 Nelson Way before this body tonight. By way of just a quick background, the project location is in the sort of the north and western part of the city near Airport Boulevard and Hangar Way. It's obviously in close proximity to the airport as well as other land uses. And so I'm going to touch on a little bit on the location, then dive into some of the key features about the project, the review procedure when it comes to a project of this nature, what issues we'll be looking into, and the environmental review for this. The site's roughly a little bit over 4 acres inside. Just to the north of it, right next to it, as you can see, is the contractor's yard. Off to the east are light industrial and business park type developments. To the south would be the existing hospital that we just talked about moments ago. And to the east and northeast is the Watsonville Airport across Airport Boulevard. The current use of this is a, unused parking lot. The site's located in areas that's designated for industrial development on all its borders. It's also, as we all are aware of, within 3 different airport safety zones, namely Zone 2, the inner approach departure zone, portion of Zone 5, the sideline zone, and the traffic pattern zone, as well as shown on this graphic here. The proposed project itself involves the construction of 6 storage buildings. 4 of them are 1-story, 2 of them are 2-story, along with the manager's unit. Altogether, the project will provide a little over 1,000 storage units for their customers. With a development like this, there's going to be new site circulation and parking spaces, landscaping, site lighting, as well as some fencing, and new stormwater features for addressing how the site will drain appropriately. Here's the illustration of the proposed site plan. As you can see on the left is Airport Boulevard. There's the layout for the 6 buildings. The main entrance, or the only entrance into the site, would be off Nielsen, as shown towards the bottom of the graphic as you see here. Those that enter would come in, visit their space, usually for a temporary basis before departing. If they have any business in terms of accounting or billing or other matters, they might park in front of the manager's units to take care of those matters. These 2 illustrations show cross elevations for what the buildings would look like from the street. Then one on the upper portion is an elevation showing the structures from Airport Boulevard. And then as you wrap around Airport Boulevard onto Nielsen, you'll see the lower elevation of the continuation of this type of development. Within the building, within the main portion of the project site, there are the 2-story structures, such as Building D, as shown here. It's up to 23 feet tall, as well as just a little elevation of what the manager's unit would look like for conducting business, as well as where he or she, I should say, might sleep. The following is an artistic rendering of the project showing what it will look like in terms of colors, materials, showing the different articulation of the buildings themselves to have this storage unit resemble something of a building itself rather than a blank continuous wall to create some visual interest. You note the relative height to the proposed structures and the existing trees that run along Airport and Nielsen that would be maintained. A project of this nature requires certain what we call planning approvals. Those involve design review as well as a special use permit, as well as the applicant has requested a plan development. And that's mainly to modify city standards with respect to the required number of parking spaces, to in essence lower them, as well as make modifications to the drive aisle widths as well. So in terms of planning issues that will be addressed as part of this project, include airport lines compatibility. We'll be looking at access and traffic safety considerations, addressing parking to ensure that it has the right amount of parking for it, as well as adequate circulation. lighting. This is mainly to make sure the lighting is on the main premises and doesn't spill over and create like a glare nuisance. Drainage and runoff is important to any project, and the city has what are called post-construction stormwater requirements that they'll have to adhere to. And with new projects like this, there's also environmental review or the Environmental Quality Act. And this is illustrating everything from noise maps to the Part 77 surface that I'm sure you all are very familiar with. Another thing that I'm sure is of question and concern to this advisory body is the height of the buildings. As shown in this graphic, in this table here, for the 6 buildings and the manager's unit, they generally range from 17 to 23 feet in height. The tallest building would be the small manager's building, which reaches up to 29 feet in height. And as part of the project, we'll be filing a 7460 with the FDA to determine whether or not this represents an obstruction of the Part 77 service and would constitute a hazard to the navigable airspace. As I mentioned earlier, we have representatives of the Ted Crocker, who owns Crocker's Lockers, as well as his representative, Ed Borisma, with Cubic Construction, who is preparing the plans and coordinating their revision as necessary. And they're available with any questions that you may have. And they also shared previously a video that they would like to share with you. And if you don't mind, I'll put it on right now. 1 second. video. And as one of the things just to highlight the commonalities between that existing facility in Gilroy and other ones like in Oakley, it's a very similar video. It's also 3 minutes long. If you want to watch it, I'll put it on, but I think you'll realize it looks much the same. That has similar architectural themes as shown in the renderings I shared previously, and they're all 1- and 2-story buildings. That concludes my presentation and the information presented by the applicant. I'm available for any questions you have, as well as Ed or Ed who's with us tonight.
Justin, do you have a copy of the site plan superimposed on the Watsonville Airport safety zones?
Probably not asked. Question.
And Justin, you might want to speak up a little bit. You were kind of muffled there at the end.
Apologize. I'm soft-spoken by nature, so I'll try to speak a little bit more loud. So here's the site plan. The airport safety zones are already depicted on it. I just highlighted zones 2, 5, and 6 with the blue lines to differentiate between the 2 zones, so it's easier to refer to.
What is the time frame of this project? Like as far as you said, there's the 3 different, there's the special use permit, the plan development, design review. Is the special use permit, is that the one that comes from the city council?
No, the city council doesn't review that special use permits. Planning commission does.
Okay, when is that going up for approval?
Once it's ready for approval, it would go to the next regularly scheduled planning commission for their consideration.
Can you estimate when you think that might be based on the planning so far?
It could be a matter of months.
Okay. So, you know, I think it's wonderful. It looks like a great facility. Looks like it's going to be a beautiful facility. And it's wonderful that the Community Development Department presents it to the WAC, which has been the arrangement for years. But what's really important is that it seems that the 3 lawsuits between the Watsonville Pilots Association and the city are being disregarded because no permits are supposed to be allowed in the airport influence area until, as I've said many times, until the compatibility planning is incorporated into the general plan. Is that a concern at all for the planning department?
I've spoke to the director on this matter, and she's recommending forward with this project.
Is that Mrs. Merriman? She directed you to go forward with it?
Correct. The city has approved many projects. There's been no stop of any projects throughout the city.
No, I'm talking about within the airport influence area, so within 2 miles of the.
That's correct. There has been numerous projects.
Would we be able to get a copy of your presentation, the WAC? That'd be great. Thank you.
So, I just want to make sure I didn't quite hear everything Mr. Meeks said in response to your questions, Marjorie. Is it my understanding that the Community Development Department's position is that projects have been approved and can be approved, notwithstanding the orders rendered by the Superior Court in the Pilots Association cases?
That projects have been approved, that is correct.
And that projects can be approved?
No projects have been approved based on the 2030 general plan update. So, as you know, the lawsuit was based off of rescinding the 2030 general plan. That was done so, which retroactively reverted the then adopted 2030 plan back to the previous 2005 general plan.
Which does not contain the provisions of the state airport development guidelines.
I understand. And any general plan update moving forward would have to do so.
Correct, but any projects that are approved between now and the or excuse me, that are proposed for approval between now and the amendment of the general plan cannot be approved with a compliant general plan. And therefore, I believe the city lacks the discretion to approve those projects, at least within the airport influence area. I believe you've received correspondence from WPA's counsel in that regard.
I'm not counsel. I'm not the city attorney, so I can't opine on legal matters like that. But in answer to your question of whether the city has approved projects within the airport influence area based on the 2005 general plan, it has.
Well, I understand that, but the point is it's not supposed to.
I hear your contention.
It's not my contention, it's a court order.
I would refer any of those legal matters to our city attorney.
I understand, but I think from for our given our position here today, we just need to understand that it is the city's intention at this time to not only process this application, but to take this application for action by the Planning Commission as necessary and the City Council as necessary, whether or not the general plan amendment process has been completed. Is that correct?
This project is moving forward. That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
So I have another question for you. And this is regarding the incorporation of the airport compatibility planning into the general plan. Are you familiar with that process?
No, I've not been involved in those meetings, other than I know that there have been some discussions and work towards that end.
Susie Merriman is involved in that, is that correct?
Yes.
But you don't get any information about that?
I've not been a part of those meetings. That's correct.
Well, maybe you can answer this. So what I wondered is if you could describe the remaining process, like where that process stands, so that all the WAC members are aware how long we're talking about.
I'm not prepared to address those questions. I don't have that information. I would direct that to Susie Miriam on answering questions not relevant to or part specifically about this project.
Well, I had requested that on the agenda, that the city give a presentation to us explaining the process to complete compatibility planning into the general plan. Do you know, Rayvon, if that was denied?
I wouldn't say it was denied. I mean, you sent an email with that request. Did you not get a response?
No.
Okay.
I also didn't get a response when I asked Justin twice in an email about the time frame of this. So it's a little disturbing that the Watsonville Airport Advisory Committee, granted we're an advisory committee, but we are an official committee. It's hard to get a response from this.
Well, I will add it to the record, and I will craft an official request from the airport to give you a response. I think that's about all I think I can do at this point.
And my understanding is that there there's work towards finalizing the airport land use compatibility plan that's been drafted since 2016 and shared with the legal counsel with the Pilots Association for the review and concurrence. And there's every intention of incorporating them. That's my working understanding, and there hasn't been any change from that position.
Just from my research, just so the WAC knows that this isn't a thing, the compatibility planning isn't going to be incorporated in the next month or two. So basically, the city reached out to the WPA, the Watsonville Pilots Association, in 2018 to work with them on developing the compatibility planning. So that was 2018. Not much information has been passed to the WPA. Once the compatibility plan is complete by the city, it goes to Mead Hunt for them to actually write up the actual compatibility planning. has that taken place yet? Where it's gone to Mead Hunt? Somebody mentioned something earlier about, maybe that was you, Rayvon, a document at Mead
Yeah,
Hunt?
my understanding is that Mead Hunt included the document, and the document was forwarded, going back in time here, the November 2019, the Watsonville Airport Advisory Committee saying, we're not in favor of this. The city saying time out.
No, I'm talking about, I'm talking about not a specific project.
You're talking about the compatibility document.
The airport land use compatibility plan or compatibility planning, however we want to call it.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that that document was contracted to be produced by Mead Hunt. It was produced, and the last time I got any input on it, it was being viewed by the WPA attorneys. That was the last input I received.
When did you receive that input?
It's been a number of months ago. For Susie and CDD, we're waiting for quite a long time for input. I mean, if Sarah's still on the line, she might be able to address that. But I mean, my understanding was that the WPA attorneys were in the process of reviewing it. And I think from my understanding is the city was waiting on that review.
Marjorie, I can address that.
From what I've been informed by Susie that she met with Sarah today, this would have been around the 2018, 2019 timeframe. You know, I wasn't part of those meetings, but she shared the draft document that was prepared back in 2016 to make sure that she was comfortable with the language that was within it, and also provided to their legal counsel to also carefully review it and make sure that it met with their interpretation of the strict interpretation of Caltrans guidelines in their handbook for airport land use compatibility.
Marjorie, if I may.
Sure, go ahead, Ori.
There are fireworks going off in the background. Excuse that. My understanding is that WPA's counsel did receive the document, looked at it, had some significant concerns about the document, but because he has been essentially, I won't say restricted, but asked to communicate with the city through the city attorney's office, he communicated his general concerns to the city attorney's office or to the city attorney directly. I do not know and have not heard anything else regarding how the city attorney has received and or communicated that information to his clients, the city. But I do know that our attorney reviewed and had concerns about that document and communicated those in the manner that the city attorney has requested through him. And that's the last that I've heard. And we have not heard anything back from the city.
Thank you. So not to drag this out, the point I'm trying to make is there's quite a process that still has to be gone through. So once the WPA legal team gives it their okay, and then as far as I understand, it has to go to the city council for adoption. And then upon their adoption, the document will go to the California Department of Transportation, the Aeronautical Division, for their approval. And then after that, it goes to back to the courts for the final approving authority, since they retain jurisdiction over the city of Watsonville general plan. Would you say that's true, Justin and Ori? We're probably looking at, I would guess, another year until that is complete.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to guess on how long it will take, but there are many steps necessary in order to adopt a significant general plan amendment, and I believe this would be a significant amendment, and that includes environmental review and so on. Plus, of course, the agency reviews that are required given the relationship of this plan to the airport.
So I just wanted the WAC to understand that this is a long process, and we've made this point many times with the land swap. This is what I mentioned at the last meeting about the self-storage unit, is that the city is not complying with the mandates from the lawsuit. So we will just make that statement again. We oppose any permits being approved on that basis.
Would it be possible to get that draft airport land use compatibility plan out to the WAC? Or is it still too much a draft?
I'm sorry, is that directed to myself or someone else?
Anyone who knows the answer.
Well, it's not a public document. It hasn't been adopted. And so I'm not at liberty to share a draft document that hasn't been made public.
I see. And
The idea was to share it with the Watsonville Pilots Association and their legal counsel, given the lawsuits of the past, to make sure that they concurred with what's within it before moving forward.
you might share it with your committee if we sign an NDA or something like that.
I would just refer you to our city attorney on any matters such as that.
Does anybody else have any other comments, questions for Justin? No. All right, well, thank you very much, Justin. We appreciate you sharing that with us.
Very well. Good evening.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Justin. Nice to meet you.
You as well.
And now
Okay.
on to number 7, unfinished business. That's what we've been doing the whole meeting, isn't it?
I think the only item is the approving of the bylaws.
So there's no staff report? I don't know what.
I think that would, we did not produce a staff report. I was about to say that would be the content if there was an item. But we didn't produce a staff report regarding the unfinished business. I don't think the bylaws have been made available for public input. I mean, we're at a point right now of approving them. We've talked about the bylaws. You guys have reviewed them.
Well, there was a copy of them attached to the agenda package.
True, that is correct. But we didn't receive any public input on them. And
does
so,
anybody have any changes, questions, concerns?
No, I think we're done.
And we met the timeframes. There was something about having it complete for a certain number of months, I think, before they can be adopted.
No, that was if you had a change, you had to present it 2 months before the meeting to the chairman, and then the chairman sends it out to all the WAC members. But I didn't get anything from anybody, and I thought it looked pretty good.
Right. So I think we meet the timelines.
Was that 2 years? It's time to review it already again. The one point I did want to make, if Rayvon, could you bring up the bylaws section 6 procedures?
all right, hold on. Let me see if I can work some magic here. Stand by.
I think you guys know what it is, so I'll just talk so we get going. So it's really important for the 3 of us that represent the pilot organizations. So representing the WPA, the EAA, or the 99s. We had a lot of trouble in the years past where nobody ever told their constituents that a meeting was going to take place. They never told them what happened at the meeting, and they didn't take their constituents' opinions into play. So, we aren't exactly elected officials, but we should be representing our people. So in the bylaws, we wrote it into the bylaws that the representatives of the 99s, WPA, EAA are required to let their organization know the date, time, the agenda, what's going to be happening at the meeting. And then it also requires, and that has to be either written or via email. And then we also require that we let our constituents know what happened at the meeting. So anything really important, or write up a summary. So I know, Ori, you're doing that. You're doing a great job with that. Unfortunately, Scott's not here, but I just wanted to remind us all that, that's really an important aspect of our role with the WAC.
So Marjorie, I'm sharing my screen. Let me see. Can you hear me? Let's see.
Yeah, so if you go up to number 6 real quick. Yeah, just right there. Oh, higher, C and D, actually.
That's it?
So we just want to include the people that we represent, let them attend if they can, and let them know what happened at the meeting.
So is it, okay, is there any change you want to make to see? or
No,
is
no,
it-
no change. I
Okay.
just wanted to remind everybody that that's a really important part of our job, because, you know, we change often, and we wrote that in there because that wasn't happening.
Okay. Well,
Now-
if everyone's okay with what's in front of you, we can make the changes, produce the final document, giving your approval tonight, and then forward it to Marjorie for her signature. And then the clock will start that it's approved as of now, and the 2 years clock will start, or whatever the time frame is.
Do we, let's see, I think somebody want to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion. I move that we approve the Airport Advisory Committee, City of Watsonville bylaws.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of approving the bylaws, say aye. Raise your
Aye.
hand. Aye,
That was Ori that seconded it, right?
yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, looks like it's unanimous. Okay, great. I think I'm allowed to ask this. Does anybody have anything else they would like to speak about in public while we are all here? Okay, well, the meeting is adjourned at 9:23. The next committee meeting is going to be held on October 27th, 2021,
Correct.
and it'll probably be Zoom again.
I'm hopeful that will not be, the city council is desirous of trying to get back into the council chambers for the August meeting. And if they're successful in doing that, it's highly likely that that we will also be headed in that direction.
Okay, great.
But I'll keep you posted.
I've heard that for a year and a half.
Okay, well, thanks everybody for all your energy. And
Thanks, everyone. We'll try to get these minutes turned out as expeditiously as possible.
And
Thank
thank
you.
you, Marjorie, for conducting the meeting.
thank you.
Bye-bye.
Night.
Thank you all. Great to see you all.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.